changing my routine in the morning and in the evening. But my morning routine for sure was pivotal. I mean, that was,
Mm.
and I feel like that took me, I sunk my teeth into that and I didn't let go. And I'm like, and I'll never let go, of my
Mm.
morning and my
Mhm.
evening routines now.
Yeah.
I feel like I never felt like I had time before, and
Mm.
it's amazing how much time you have when you declutter your life.
And now for something completely different.
Well, the record button is on right now, which means that we're going. So, first and foremost, Anna, thank you for hanging out with me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, I know we talked about doing this for a few weeks now, or maybe it's been a couple months. Super excited to share space with you. One, because of the obvious thing that you are one of my clients, and we've been working together for a little while.
Right.
But two, to learn more about what you do in the world of taxidermy. So maybe we could actually start there. What do you find most fascinating about taxidermy, the art of taxidermy?
Well, I guess my favorite part of taxidermy is actually anything that requires like a repair or blending of certain colors to hide something, or um, painting rocks, trying to make fake rocks look like real rocks, um, setting up all the habitat. I love the detail that goes into like, well, I should put some grass here, or maybe like a little tree here, or whatever,
Mhm.
and it's like, it really reminds me of back in the day when I went to a really awesome school and grade school, and we used to do like dioramas. Do you
Mhm.
remember doing stuff like that in
Vaguely,
school? I don't know if that
vaguely.
was like part of your curriculum, but we did
Mhm.
that kind of stuff, and that's what it reminds me of, is like making a diorama for school.
Mhm. Mhm.
In a way, I feel like I've been preparing for this my whole life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when you first started getting into taxidermy, it was pretty smooth sailing, like getting into doing it.
Well, no, because it was a huge transition from what I was doing before. I was working at a prison before, and I was there for like 9 years, and a lot of patterns and beliefs and stuff really had to break and change in order for me to kind of settle into the job that I have now, which is, I feel like, and it's been like, it'll be 3 years this October. And I feel like I'm just now finding that balance, and I'm just now finding that rhythm.
Mhm.
And a lot of that has to do with the work that we've been doing. So, and
Sure. Yeah, right.
allowing, so.
I am curious to know, like, and I guess we can just go there. It's natural flow conversation, right? Like, how would you say the difference, or can you describe in any way the difference between how you interacted with the field of taxidermy, doing what you do before beginning to do your introspective work and us working
You
together,
cut off there.
to now? Like, what did I break up?
I'm sorry, you're cutting out, so I did not hear that question. You're
Okay,
frozen.
am I back now? Oh, I'm frozen. Hello, testing one, two,
I can
three.
hear you. Oh, there you are.
Okay, are we
Gotcha.
back even
Sorry, what
now?
was the question?
You're
Yep,
fine. Are we back? Are we back even now?
it seems better.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, so the post production tends to work it out, but every now and then it does gap like that. So if it happens again, just let me know and we can, if it becomes like, man, this keeps happening, then we can look at, doing it a different way or something.
Okay.
So what I was asking is, in terms of how you interacted with being a is it a taxidermist? Would I say that?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm a
Does that work?
taxidermist, which is even weird to say out loud because
Right, right.
I don't know.
And and we know that the introspective work is obviously deeper than what you do, but at the same time, it ties into that. So yeah, like how you related to taxidermy, being a taxidermist, before beginning the introspective work that we've, begun doing together. And what's the difference in now your relationship with, or is there any?
There's a huge difference. And I think before it was, and I had this like weird combination of leaving my past, you know, my old job and then trying to settle into this new one where I have way less structure, so much more freedom, and just didn't know my place because I was so used to the black, white. This is, step 1, 2, 3. So this work has helped me, well, for one, just know myself better. So
Mhm.
in doing that, I think it really has liberated parts of me to feel like I'm allowed to settle in here. I belong here. You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
I it was kind of, I've always had this like internal, you know, challenge where I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Like
Mhm.
no,
Mhm.
I've never knew how to pinpoint that thing. It seemed like everyone had a thing but me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, but really, I mean, that's like my old story. And now I realize how many things I actually did have
Mhm.
that I kind of pushed aside and didn't think that they were very important or very significant, um, or that I should even incorporate them into how I live my life every day. So, this work has allowed me to open up and just embrace more of that of like, no, this is who I am and that's okay. Like,
Mhm.
and not that there was anything to even be ashamed of. It was just more like giving myself the permission
Yeah.
to embrace who I am without the influence of like a corporation or like, you know what I mean? Something big like, a state run prison or something with a lot of overhead, and I've always had jobs that had a lot of overhead and I kind of had to never got to navigate things on my own, and there's been a lot of freedom in that. And this job itself, working from home and doing all this, has enabled me to connect with you and do this work, and that's been the biggest change. And I was doing this job for about a year before. I'm sorry, 2 years before I found you, and so it'll be 3 years this October that I've been home, and about 1 year that we had been working together. So
Mhm.
um, it's been the missing piece. It's, I don't know, the 2 year block of time I had before I started doing this work is just like this tangled mess of trying to figure it out. And so I knew something was missing, and this work is really what has made everything just come a little bit more full circle. And I don't know that it ever stops. I don't think it ever will
Mhm.
stop, and that's okay. I'm actually like
Mhm.
totally excited about that. And
Yeah. It's
anyway.
like, and thank you so much for that. It really is like it's learning to basically navigate life, the shifts and the changes in weather, et cetera, navigating in life.
Mhm.
So, but historically, I had resistance to the idea of a life coach because, it's like my old inner narrative would be like, oh, you're a life coach, buddy? Okay, all right, sure. And so I always had resistance to that. And that's why I went to mindset coach. But more recently, it's like I'm just someone that helps people, and I've changed a lot of my, you know, uh, written word on my website to come off that, I'm a mindset coach. It's like, that's
Right.
probably the best term to describe, but it's like, it's so much more than that. And so this, the inner narrative that you had before that created the constriction, we see that these changes have given you benefit in your relationship to your work and how you show up to the work in the field of taxidermy. But then, as you also, pointed out, it's like overarching. It goes to all aspects of your life.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And it's definitely like the relationships in my life or and everything. I don't know, everything was suffering, and I don't want to say that everything's like 100% now,
Mm-hmm.
but I have so many more tools now and these goals that I never had before with working with myself and getting to a space where, like, my biggest goal now is getting to a space where if I'm in a situation with somebody or something, and I'm, for lack of a better word, triggered, okay, into like an old pattern or like an old thinking habit or old version of myself. um I don't want to be triggered into the old version anymore. I want to be able to have that autonomy,
Mhm.
so much assurance in myself and in my heart that as those moments of opportunity are presented,
Mhm.
it's it's looked at as such. It's not a throw me off the course, and I'm in a tailspin and feeling all these negative emotions again, which is that's what I'm
Mhm.
relearning. I'm learning how to control my emotions with whatever happens to be in front of me. So that's been my biggest
Hello.
challenge, but honestly
Hello.
the funnest thing to work on. So, oh, do we
Yeah.
cut
Hello.
out again?
Testing 1 2 3.
I can hear you now.
Okay, are
I
we
can hear
together?
you.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. It's gonna work out. So all that's beautiful. I think that before we begin doing this work, we want to control our emotions, but it's really more about learning to navigate and process and cultivate different
Right.
emotional states, you know? Um, but in the beginning, that's definitely what it feels like. Um, I'm curious. I think I know the answer to this. This is a non-linear process
Mm.
of doing this work. But those responses, those triggers, those physiological responses that you feel that happen, um, would you say that there's areas where they used to be rampant and they aren't anymore, but areas where they still remain? Is that a good way of saying
Yeah,
it?
I would say that's totally fair. It's, I don't want to like associate negative like words with it, but it, like you said, it's not linear, but it's also kind of a painful process, because you're kind of grieving. There's this part of you're grieving like this old self, and trying to navigate the new you, and that
Mhm.
can be really it can be really difficult to navigate. So
Yeah.
that's what's been so valuable working with you
Mhm.
is, you're I'm on my own path. It's my path, it's my
Right.
thing, it's right for me, but you are the light on the path, and I think I've told you that before.
Yeah.
It's like you're my lantern.
Thank you, Anna.
You're welcome. Thank
It's been an
you.
absolute pleasure working with you. It's funny, we started out with this idea of like, let's get into taxidermy, and then here we are, we're diving into it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's hard not to get to that because, I mean, yeah, my job's important to me. Like, I want to be good at my job. I want to love what I do, but I have so much more deeper work to do,
Mhm.
and I'm doing it. So it's been,
Yeah.
this job has allowed me to work through that. It's I'm not saying that that I couldn't have walked through this like in my past job, but the mindset was way different, way different.
It would have been a shit ton more challenging to do
Yeah.
the work while being a prison guard. Is it a prison guard? Is that right?
I started off as a guard. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was there for a long time, so it kind
But
of
just
morphed
working
into
working
different
in a
things.
prison, it would be challenging. However, I did meet someone at the dog park that I go to that is a prison person, and talked about like he's a pretty happy dude, and he gets up in the morning and stuff, and he's pretty optimistic. And so I was like, hey, all right, good for you,
Dude, there are some amazing people that work for the prison at the state where I was at, and I still have some of those people in my life to this day. I mean, people that I'll hold close to my heart for the rest of my life. I've so even though that was a challenging time of my life, there was such a huge chunk that I'll never regret living there. Or living there. I felt like I lived there. But working there, it was just the people that I met, even some of the offenders. It was Not every experience was a great one, but honestly, like overall, I did make a difference in some people's lives, and I know I did. I
Hell
did
yeah.
the work that I did there was necessary and meaningful, and but what I'm doing here and now is so much better because it's for me. you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
So I want to just touch on what you said earlier about how and I already kind of addressed it, but it continues to go, right? Like the way I usually describe it to people is like, I'll
oop,
have
I
some
think I
people
lost you.
that, oh, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear
Hello?
you now.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Um,
you want to touch
I'll
on
have
something from earlier?
Yeah, I'll have some people that begin working with me, and we do, 8 weeks or 12 weeks or something like that, and they really adopt like a lot of those principles that are in the rewire guide that I have, and they really begin to make those shifts, and they see how much better they feel, and then from that they're like, "Hey, man, this is good. I am set, right?" But then there's another side that I do seem to
Oop,
find more
I
often
think I lost
where
you again.
individuals are like, wait a minute, this continues to go. Like we continue to do this work.
Right.
To your point. So you can either take the core principles and just, adjust those areas of your
Oh, I
life
think
and
I
be
lost you again.
happier and have more energy and all those things. But it's like once you start doing a little bit of the introspection and the rewiring and shit and opening your mind, it's like, hold on, man, this really does continue to go. But I think what's most important is, and I didn't want to put like words in your mouth or anything,
I'm
but
sorry, Phil.
based on having
We're
worked with
getting,
you and the
it's
shifts I know that you.
choppy. I can't hear what you're saying.
Oh, okay. Hello. Can you
Now I
hear me
can hear
now?
you,
Okay.
but your screen's frozen. Oh, there you are.
Okay. Yeah, it'll come out clear on the opposite side.
It's when it
So
cuts out the audio.
yeah,
Yeah, I
so
can't hear you right now.
hello.
I can hear
Okay,
you. Yep, I can hear you now.
it'll come out perfectly. I
Okay,
believe
good.
that. That's an example for me. Like historical version of myself would have a raise in physiological response. My face would turn flush red when I'm in a situation like this where it's
Mm.
supposed to,
Yeah, I
you
can't
want it
hear
to
you,
go in
Phil.
one take or whatever, and it doesn't. And here we
Oh,
are.
there you
Hello?
are. Sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
No, it's fine. I'm thinking maybe we switch to Google Meets for the
Okay.
rest of this. Cool. So we are recording again. The last thing that I think I was saying was just flashing over to me in my life, having this dynamic happen where, we're having this podcast, it's good conversation, we're dialed in, and then these challenges arise, and I would have like my face would get flushed red, and I would have like a physiological response, to that. And I was just making note of it in the moment, like, hey, man, we'll work it out. We
Yeah.
slide over there if we need to, and that's just an example of one of the areas that things have shifted for me. But yeah, it's all nonlinear, and but once you begin to get it, and you see that as you continue to reap the fruits of the journey. That's probably not the best phrase there, but
Not the
but
worst.
it, but it continues to go, and you continue to learn more about yourself and really like liberate yourself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's what's been the most eye-opening thing in this whole process. And I know I've got more to go, and it's not like oh God, I've got more to go. It's cool. I got
yeah,
more to do. And it's, I don't know, man. It's just part of my life now.
right.
So it's
That's the thing. The other thing I was saying was like, there's individuals who apply the principles and see the benefits and like, oh, cool, I feel happy or whatever. But then there's others that's like, holy shit, man, you just continue to do this and it gets better and better. And it's
right.
like, yeah, that's pretty much it. Whether it's with me or on an individual's own journey, it's like you take this stuff and you keep going,
Right.
um, and it's so good. So to come back to taxidermy though, so it sounds like for one, it's contributed to you being able to be more present with the process of being a taxidermist as a whole?
Yeah, and it's it's funny because the practicing presence didn't really start until very recently for me.
Mhm.
I mean, because it was like I kind of found myself in this rut where um I didn't feel like anything. I don't want to say like magical, but I like nothing. I wasn't feeling very good. And I think, and, after some of our sessions, it was apparent, I wasn't, and I never have been, as I realize now, able to really tap into the present moment and be fully present,
Mhm.
and focused, and, um, so anyway, that's
When
been
did you say when do you think you started more actively practicing being present?
I honestly probably about the middle of May. So probably about 4 weeks. Well, 5 weeks. To be fair, I'd say four because I've missed some days and stuff. But for me, that came in with the meditation, starting
Mhm.
the meditation, because
Mhm.
that it forces you to sit and focus your
Yeah,
attention,
yeah,
and um, yeah, it felt real weird at first, real awkward, real
yeah,
like I didn't belong there, but I've always known that was something that I wanted to do and try and get good at. And I don't know, just that innate knowing, there's something I'm just like, okay, you need to learn how to meditate. You need to meditate. There's always
mhm,
been, not always, the last couple of years, there's been that voice in my head. So um I know I'm on the right path. I know I'm doing what I should be doing, because I already feel the shifts, if
mhm,
and something that I picked up from you in our sessions was how to cultivate that inner dialogue, like a narrative space, and I never did that before, because it's awkward, it's weird, you're talking to yourself in a way, which I've always done. I guess we all probably do to a degree, but like
right,
with conscious, like on purpose,
mhm.
looking at myself, talking to myself,
Yeah, yeah,
then
it's awkward in the beginning, yeah.
yeah, totally. So, yeah, it's that's been I'm like right in the middle of that shift is how I feel.
Yeah, so I think that, for a lot of people, we have to, basically create the foundational level to really have any, luck or progress with the work. And what I mean by that is like the morning and evening thing, right? Like
Oh
the attachment to content and these routines, right? So I'm just curious, and I don't know if we've ever gone to this specific idea before, but do you feel it's my belief in a lot of cases it's necessary to do those things first to be able to touch the idea of meditation and cultivating presence. It's like you have to first kind of clean house a little bit.
dude, that's so accurate. Yes, because I don't like I always felt like yes, I want to meditate, but it was like where do you start? How could
Mhm.
I even? And I really can't even imagine trying to do that without having known this work first.
Mhm.
Um, because it's not some well, it's probably different for everybody. For me, it was I'm a very analytical person. I like science, I like facts, I like that kind of stuff. And this work is totally centralized around all of that. So
Mhm.
that's it was so easy for me to just dig in deep because of that. But
Mhm.
it was changing my routine in the morning and in the evening. But my morning routine for sure was pivotal. I mean, that was
Mhm.
and I feel like that took me, I don't know, like I sunk my teeth into that and I didn't let go. And I'm like, and I'll never let go, of my
Mhm.
morning and my
Mhm.
evening routines now.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like I never felt like I had time before, and
Mm.
um it's amazing how much time you have when you declutter your life.
Yeah.
And when you declutter, and when I talk specifically for me, that meant my mornings weren't as soon as I wake up, I'm on, how my previous version myself was, I was on my phone immediately flipping through Instagram, trying
Yep.
to get those dopamine hits of what's funny, what can I share with my friends, what are they going to laugh at, what are, or depending on the mood, right? I was always taking, wherever my attention was, is where I was spending my energy, obviously. And like, I would seek out certain quotes to kind of like relate to how I was feeling, or, it was just like, and it was always a bad feeling, when I was seeking that kind of stuff out. So it was just this feed of, it could be positive, don't get me wrong. Some of it was, lighthearted, but a lot of it was like this tool to use to keep having an excuse to feel the way I feel. It was,
And it's like, there's also kind of like it's an unconscious cycle of being a slave or a prisoner of your own mind without realizing that
right.
that's what's going on.
Right. Because when you're doing that and you're a slave to, well, honestly, to just social media, and, or whatever, just the phone routine stuff, getting lost in the scroll, it's, you don't feel like you have time for anything else, because you really don't think you do. I mean, I convinced myself I didn't have time for anything else. I didn't have time to read. I didn't have time to meditate. I didn't have time to, meet with you. I didn't have time to do any of that, but I did, and it was clearing out that clutter and getting rid of, a lot of that was taking down this like expectation that I think I put up myself of like what I need to project out so that my friends, family, etc., know what's going on with me or feel more connected with me. It was like something I felt like I had to maintain so that they felt better about themselves. I didn't know that at that point. Obviously, it's like kind of stuff that comes up after when you start doing this work. But anyway, I'm just focused on loving myself, and the best way I can do that is giving myself that attention and not pouring it in mindlessly, into other stuff. If I'm on my phone, which is very rare in the mornings, but if I am on my phone in the mornings, it's to jump onto a podcast or to watch a an interview or listen to something. So it's just so different compared to what I've done before. And if I should pull up like my usage on my phone, because my iPhone tells you like your summary of how much you spend. I should pull up, because it'll tell you, like, I think it'll tell you like your usage over months if you want it to look. So I should pull it up and screenshot it maybe and send it to you, because I bet you it goes like this to this,
It's always kind of like the irony of the fact that I create content that is primarily digested on mobile devices, and that a big portion of what I'm trying to do is help people see the benefit in making these shifts in their life. And the first thing that I always bring up, whether it's on my guide or in a message with someone or on a discovery call, is like, all right, what's the phone situation looking like? Because that's the bigger drug, like the back and forth with dopamine and serotonin and all that shit. Like, fuck, man, that's the drug,
That's so
and
true.
again, to your point of like not having time, there's so much more time. I can't tell you how often that happens, where it's like, there's just not time. Okay, let's break down your routine, and the more candid you are, the better I can do a good job at this, right? And it's like, well, okay, but what happens when, we'll sit on the couch for, like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's like in the screens, and it's like, holy shit, man, and I'm not saying, right, like that we can never look at a screen again, because obviously you guys are hanging out with screens right now, but it's a completely different thing. And I think that the easiest way to like paraphrase it from bird's eye view is, if someone is in a pattern of being in the quote unquote doom scroll or mindless scrolling, that is an offshoot of the inner child, and it's an act of trying to disconnect from a feeling that he or she has created walls around throughout their entire life, right? And so Tom Bilyeu says, like, one of the biggest measures of like how well you're doing, if you will, is how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself,
No,
and that's it. And that's like without the phone, without the whatever, like just you know.
Yeah. And it's funny because like you'll know what that means when you are sitting alone and you're like, if your first thought is, where's my phone? That's
Right.
when you know something needs to, you got to break
Yeah.
off a little bit, because
Or
it's,
at a red light,
yep.
fucking on the phone. Hold on, man. God damn, I'm on this thing a lot. Holy shit, right? And you just start putting that motherfucker down.
Right. Or, I think what a good place to start for some people, because just putting down the phone for some people is really just, especially like younger people, I think it's, but at least start with what you taught me was start with intentional content digestion, right? So not doing the mindless doom scroll, but okay, if you're going to do that, okay, get on, YouTube or whatever your thing is and look up some of this work because it's everywhere, right? Like if you wanted to look up a certain podcaster or whatever, and then doom scroll their page. You know what I mean? Like just, and that's funny because it's kind of what I did when I discovered you.
Cool.
When I found you through Riley Kirk's podcast, I went to your Instagram and I just flipped through I just kept going and, liked your whatever. And then inevitably you ended up reaching out to me, which has been awesome. We never looked back, but that was a good place to start. At least if you're going to do the doom scrolling, you're kind of wanting to wean off of that, at least choose some content that's beneficial to what you're doing, and that's, I mean, start there at least is what if I had any advice.
Right. And just try not to call it doom scrolling when you do it.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know, it's like the connecting to the source scroll.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's great. I'll usually say like switch to YouTube, because switch to YouTube, like you find someone that you like on a particular channel, like or on TikTok or Instagram or something. It's like, well, what do they have on YouTube? Let me go search some long form content, or learning about something that they're interested in, bushcraft or van life or something, depending on the individual, right? Like, and intention, right? Consciously, we're either consciously using our phone, utilizing our phone, or unconsciously using it, right? From my perspective, anyway.
Right.
Well, you know what, man, there's been a couple times that we've tried to talk about taxidermy, but I think that there is a chance that perhaps we're not meant to talk too much about it today, and maybe we could do another episode at some point. But I would like to take a moment to talk about what you have begun doing since beginning to tap more into your creative, talk about that a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah. So for me, I don't know if this is just the analytical part of me, but like really trying to latch on to this work, was difficult with the inner work, more specifically, for me at the beginning, because I didn't know what that even meant. I didn't know what to focus on. I didn't even know how to go there, and something that you helped in that direction was think of that inner voice, that inner you as the child, the inner child that we're all trying to liberate. And that was, I think that's what's helped me kind of get serious about this work. Try to be that person that like she needed all those years, that kind of thing. So that's what's kind of helped me connect when it comes to doing the really personal inner work.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. In the creative space, you were doing something with rhinestones.
So, okay. So So I guess what I was going to get to about that was, in connecting with my inner child, we started going out on, we've always done like, nature walks or hikes or whatever you want to call it, just because we hunt, and so and we live near the mountains, and so that was kind of an easy thing for us to do. But it's changed now. It's not like how it was before. Before it was like, oh yeah, let's go out, go for a walk, whatever, scout, do a little bit of scouting. Now it kind of morphed into, we're still doing that, but I'm finding I kind of tapped into a love that I fell out of, and that's with rocks and geology in general, and all that stuff. And so I just dove headfirst into that, man, like a kid would, and just when I was a little kid, I used to climb up on the mountain and grab rocks that I thought were cool and then break them open just to see what was inside, not knowing what I was doing. And so totally been cool doing that. And I've kind of just recently, when I'm out collecting, I've found like flatter rocks that I'm starting to like do little paintings on. And cool. I actually have one right here.
Nice.
So that's one that I've done.
Oh, that's awesome.
And all these little like these lines all the way around.
Yeah.
Those are called dendrites. So, which is kind of like what happens in our brains with the neurons and everything.
Right, the dendritic patterns. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was some of these flatter rocks that I'm picking up. I just immediately, like when I pick them up, I'm like, oh, I've got an idea for that. Like I would put this, I would paint this. I would totally paint this on this rock. So we'll see where it goes. And it's funny because the last time we talked, you're like, well, is that possibly like a revenue flow for you? And I'm not saying that it's not, because it's something that's definitely popped into my head. But I was like, well, I got to look, it's funny how your mind, your old self wants to immediately come up with all these reasons for why I'm not going to do that, right? Or why I can't, or why it's not possible.
Right. The old story.
So I got rid of that. So what I'm focusing on though is how can I get, if this is something that I do decide. I looked into other sites, like websites other than Etsy, because Etsy is actually kind of expensive, come to find out. And what's this one called? It's Big Cartel. Is what it's called. So they have a free version that you can use where they let you like post like 5 things. So I was gonna try to set that up today. I don't even have 5 things to post, I don't think. So this is perfect. It kind of lets me, I think it'll let me trickle in the little bit that I've done and just see where it goes and just see what it does. And there's no pressure. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, then great.
Yeah. If it's fun, do it. If it's not, maybe don't do it.
Yeah. But it's not going to hurt having it on this app, because it doesn't cost me anything, and I'll put it there and see what happens, and just go from there. But yeah, man, just totally embracing that inner child mindset when when you discovered something new and you just want to just figure everything out about it that you can, like that's where I'm at with the rock hounding and anything to do with art, So
you feel like the more that you've gone into your own introspective journey, it's given birth to you tapping back into things that align with what the kid in you wants to do and enjoys.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because I think, not really realizing this until now, I was pinching myself off from that source or that light or that opportunity or that connection, whatever you want to call it. And I think because I was pinching myself off from that because I was so worried and so focused on other people and whether they were happy, what they thought about me. I mean, everything was so outward, I never felt like I knew myself, and that this work has kind of helped me get back to that. And that's what I was, just to kind of tie it in. That's how I did it. I focused on that inner child because that's the only thing I could relate to, that's real. I was there before. So that's what's really been beautiful about this whole thing,
Hell yeah.
permission, giving myself the permission
Yeah.
to use this work as a springboard, and it's been really great. And I don't know, I always knew something was missing. I always needed like this, just the step. I just needed this stepping stone, and I didn't know what that was. And it was this, it was working with you and learning all this, or learning about the quantum field and all this crazy stuff. That's just amazing. It's just part of our world. It's part of everybody's world. You're just not aware of it. So,
well, hell yeah. Thank you for those kind words. What comes to mind there is, you were talking before about the analytical mind and how you historically have been. Things need to make sense. They need to check out, that sort of deal. So approaching the inward path, in a way that we do, it's easier for that version of the self, to get on board with it and do it, So
yeah.
like, I'm curious, for you, because I don't, some people see this, but I think that a lot of people that, say they, message me or schedule a call, or any coach, they may not be thinking about from the perspective of, I need to liberate my inner child. More often than not, they're thinking, I need to fix this part of myself, or I need to get this under control, XYZ,
Right.
which I guess the paradox here is that those mechanisms of thought are a byproduct of a younger version of themselves trying to maintain some form of safety. And so that's why they're there. But like, when you get so lost in that way of being, you're just automatically, I gotta fucking get this, I gotta fucking fix all this, and so if I were just to come out of the gate, that, well, what you need to do is liberate your inner child, it'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? I got real world, blah, blah, blah. But all of that mechanistic shit is really their inner child trying to maintain safety. So I'm curious, like, do you recall, it may be different for you a little bit. I don't know if it's something you've given a lot of thought to, but like when you first discovered me and you entertained the idea of you and I working together, were you thinking, hey, this guy would help me liberate my inner child?
No, I mean, that's definitely not where my head was at all. I mean, because I think the main thing when I found you, I was challenged by so many things at the time. But one of my main things was marijuana consumption. I was very very ashamed, and just like had felt like I had to keep it a secret. And I don't know, man. And that can be kind of related to a lot of things in my life, right?
Sure.
But yeah, finding you, because that was actually the content you were pushing, like, and when you brought that up, that it was actually more, I don't think you used the words inner child, but it was more about the relationship to yourself, with the self.
Mm-hmm.
That hit so hard. It hit so hard because I was like, fuck, I never thought of it like that. Like it wasn't, it was just this guilt and shame and fear thing that I wanted to hang on to. I was never looking at where it was coming from or why I felt that way. It was just, I feel this way and I want everyone to make me feel better for making me feel this way because they don't like it, like.
Now, I'm just curious. I think I know the answer to this, but like, your conscious self may not have seen that was what the inner workings were actually doing, right? It's more your current level of awareness. You can reflect back and say, that's what was going on.
Yeah.
But in the moment, can't really see it.
Not at all. You can't see it at all. I mean, you don't, it's, and it's not even something that like you could help me see. I mean, yeah, obviously you did, but like, there's obviously like a point where somebody has to open that door, and that is absolutely something you help with and have helped me with. But like there's resistance in all of us in different very levels and stuff. And I think some people have a little bit of a resistance in like how society is right now with I see a difference for sure on like there's way more of a focus on like mental health, right? Therapy, that kind of
Mhm.
stuff, and
Yeah.
so I think for some people, even coming to a space like this, finding you, coming across somebody, mindset coaching, quantum stuff, all of this stuff, there's such a resistance to it because there is a lot of connection to the inner child and where this all came from and stuff. And so they immediately, or even I've even had some of these thoughts that like, well, I don't want to make it seem like I'm blaming my everybody, ABCD, my mom, my dad, my whatever for why I am. That's just, being more of a victim and,
Mhm.
so much more resistance with that, but it's not about blaming anybody and it's not about any of that. It's bringing attention to the fact that it's not your fault because
Mhm.
so many people have guilt, shame, whatever that they're carrying, and that it really does go back to the to that little kid,
Yeah.
who you were when you're a child. That's how, when you look into the science of all this and how our neuroplasticity is before we even by the age of 7, I think, right?
The first 7 years, yeah. Mhm.
Little information sponges. So if you can think about what was happening in your life from 0 to 7, you know, and that is what shapes your personality as you get older.
Yeah.
That's what locks in, and then the habits that we form locks it in even more and more and more. So it's if anybody like wanting to walk through this door where they get really where they pinch themselves off from that opportunity of growth is, well, I don't blame anybody. I don't want to be more of a victim, and this
Mhm.
mental health crap is just more crap, and you know it's just like, let go of that. You have to let go of that. It's not
Well,
just
see, that's
like,
even that is an example of a defense mechanism that stems back to that inner child space and is trying to maintain some level of safety or security or fitting in or whatever. And it's just operating off of the map that it was fed, you
right,
know?
right.
I mean,
And,
so
and and you're not sitting here telling me that I need to blame my mom for everything that ever happened in my life, or
no,
I need to
no,
blame anybody. There's nothing like that. This work is not like that at all. It's
yeah.
just all you're trying to do is show where this came from, how it started, and how we are totally capable of changing that.
Yeah, I
So
think that a good summary for the broad perspective there is we were not given an efficient or dialed in or proper map of how to really live a fulfilling life. There are certain texts out there that illuminate it, but you talk about schooling systems and the general society of
mhm,
how parents were themselves indoctrinated, etc. We weren't given a proper map to navigate. I mean, even learning emotional intelligence and how to navigate our emotions is one of the most important things that anybody can do. So if we were not given that, but then we look at science and we realize, yeah, all of our habits and everything do come from that space. Scientifically speaking, it comes from that space. So it only makes sense then to utilize the autonomy to do some rewiring work and really like look at this shit.
yeah,
And in the beginning, I didn't really talk about inner child a lot, but it's like I reached a point where I'm like, fucking shit, that's what it is. How about that? So
it is. And the rewiring, like you've said before, it's reparenting.
mhm,
It's like
yeah,
reparenting yourself, and even that can be scary to some people because they're like, well, who am I, to
yeah,
reparent myself, like I don't know shit,
yeah.
So, but that's where this work comes in, and that's where it's such a beautiful process.
Well, I feel compelled to drop the. I don't know if I talked to you about this. I think we may have talked about this the last session we had. But the idea of the grocery store metaphor.
Yes, you did mention that. Yeah.
So, just for anybody that's hanging out with us at this point, thanks for hanging out. Next time we hang out, we'll talk about taxidermy. But if we were to look at it as, someone reaching a space where they're like, all right, fucking shit, man, I want to change something. I want to do something different. And you're talking about self-talk. If we look at it as a metaphorical example of you're taking over, you're stepping into, oh shit, I'm running this grocery store now, and perhaps the previous person that ran the grocery store did not do that good of a job. And you can see that by how the different workers are working, the morale in the store and everything. In life, we can see this in what our health is like, how we feel every day, and all these things, right? But if you're coming into the store and you're stepping into that role, you can guess that the previous manager, when he came over the intercom, he probably only came over or she only came over the intercom when they were upset and like, God damn it, you guys got to quit fucking putting that shit over there. Like it's that kind of stuff. How often did that manager come on and say, hey guys, thanks for showing up again today. And, if anybody needs to talk, let me know and we're going to have a good day. Or popping on in the middle of the day, hey, you just noticed that somebody went back there and took out all the trash that was there and it was someone else's duty. And I just want to say thank you so much for doing that. And hey, you know what? Pizza for everybody on Friday or whatever, like that manager, if that manager steps into the role of, oh shit, when I come on the mic, what I say matters, the dynamic of that store is going to turn around. And it's the same thing with self-talk. If we realize that our subconscious mind and our brain is always listening to the words we say, and it's not about the words we say, but the emotional inflection of those words, right? And not only that, but the energy we digest from the content and the people we're around and all that shit, right? Then yeah, man, talking to yourself that's the stuff.
Yeah. And it's weird at first, it's definitely,
yeah,
it's like working out, like you have to exercise it.
Yeah, it's a process. Well, you know what? Initially my first thought was that this call was going to be, hey, what was life like before you started doing the introspective work? How would you say it's different now? What do you think are the best practices that you found the most benefit in? And then a different side of it was, let's talk about taxidermy. So, but we went all sorts of places. But I think we went exactly where we were supposed to, and perhaps we could do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would absolutely love that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your side of the story here and your experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I hope this can help somebody else. That's the biggest reason, and obviously to support you, because the work you do is so important, and I really do believe in it, and I really just I'm glad that I'm here. So I'm glad that you invited me. So thank you.
Hell yeah. And thank the good Lord, baby Jesus, for getting it worked out with the technology. We got over to Google to wrap this up.
Google saved us today.
That's going to throw one person off there, like with me the whole time. And like, is he making fun of Jesus? No, I'm not making fun of Jesus. I promise.
That's it. Canceled.
He's like, yeah, fuck these people. Nope.
Right.
Hell yeah. Well, are you cool to hang out for 2 more seconds after I stop this thing?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you again. And for anybody who's been hanging out this long, thanks for hanging out with us. This is a different style of podcast recording episode thing that I've done before, but maybe there will be more.